This story of Jesus begins with an editorial and ends with a footnote, and it is something of a mad scramble in between. It's the story of the Transfiguration. And this is the editorial, full of questions the editor can't answer, and can't find good answers to. First, where does the story come from? It's not something Jesus would tell on himself, and none of the eyewitnesses that could testify in earthly court is reliable, for all were at various times in the very short narrative asleep or beclouded or terrified and/or asleep and/or beclouded and/or terrified and/or asleep. Maybe that's why they didn't tell anybody about any of it. Because they didn't. So where did the story come from? Then where is it going? The story itself seems to say that it's going to Jerusalem. But what does the mountain have to do with Jerusalem, or Jerusalem with the mountain? The people that write the commentaries think, or they pretend they know, but do they? Does anyone? Listen, not to them yet. They can provide the footnote. Listen to the story. Once upon a time, in the middle of Jesus' time, he went up to the mountain to pray. And he took Peter and John and James with him. Then, as he was praying, he changed. His face looked different, and his clothes looked different. Both became dazzling white, shining as lightning. And as he was praying, two men appeared, and appeared to be talking with him about his exodus. That's the word Luke uses, which he was about to realize when he got to Jerusalem. At this point, Peter, who had fallen asleep, may have wakened, or not, and the other two. It's not clear. But the two men with Jesus are going away, and Peter says, "Isn't it a good thing you brought us? We could make 3 tents, or tabernacles. Tabernacula, Jerome says. One for you, and one for Moses, and one for Elijah." For that's who Peter seems to think the two men are, though it's also clear Peter doesn't know what he's saying. He blurts it out. He's half asleep, and he's flustered. Or he's half asleep, and he's flustered, and he's Peter. So he has to say something. It doesn't have to make sense. A cloud comes and covers all of it. What Peter says, Peter himself, and James, and John, and Jesus, and the men, the entire mountain is covered by the cloud. So no one can see anything, and it's scary. And then there's a noise, or a voice. Listen. That's what the voice seems to say. Listen. Meaning, it seems, listen to Jesus. Because Moses and Elijah, if that's who they are gone. There's no one else now. So listen to Jesus. But Jesus says nothing. The end. The end. For the disciples also say nothing. As Luke puts it, they kept silence and told no one in those days anything of what they had seen. The footnote. As I'm not sufficiently confused by the story itself, I borrow 4 commentaries from the church library, and all of them say that the Transfiguration prefigures the resurrection. But when and where does the resurrected Jesus shine? Where does it say he appeared to Mary Magdalene in gleaming white tie and tails, or to the disciples behind closed doors, sparking like lightning in the noon sun? The resurrected Jesus is never transfigured. He is unrecognizable, or he's fading in and out, or he's simply himself. He's nothing like this, ever before or again. So where does the story come from?